Hello Team FD and welcome back to Winners and Losers, the show where we look at the highs and lows from the latest Premier League match week. Joining me today is Zachary Jelab. How was your weekend, my friend? Good to hear from you on this Monday morning.
Yeah, very good, thank you very much. Managed to see Fatboy Slim at Printworks, which was good fun. Whilst absolutely stone cold sober as well, because I had work the next day. And enjoyed it very much. And then, obviously had the pleasure of witnessing Chelsea demolish a certain team that we'll get onto later on. How was yours, mate?
Yeah, it was good. Two things. Bought a new cap. Looking at myself now on my webcam, I look like the unlockable character on Tony Hawk's Underground.
I thought you said cat.
No, I would love a cat. Not allowed them in this flat, unfortunately. And secondly, I went for a roast where you could effectively split all four options. Mainstays on the menu between two people. So I had pork, lamb, chicken, beef. And it was incredible. Shout out to the antelope. Not a paid placement that, but alas. Let's start with a football analysis then before I get carried away with Sunday dinners. We're only going to do winner and loser this week for reasons that become very obvious as we progress through the script. Of course, we will be rounding off the show with our moment of the week as well. Remember to drop us a like if you agree with our selections, or comment if you don't. I'll be in the comments in the first hour as always. Anyway, let's move on to our winners then, Zach. It comes from Callum Jupp this week, and it's Brighton Hove Albion.
Yes, indeed it is. I mean, it's a brand new Brighton compared to last season. They're scoring goals now. It's great to see. They've got 4 wins out of 5. They've scored 7 goals in those 5. They've had 5 different goal scorers, and they're on 12 points. The best start to a Premier League season before this was when they had 9 points from 8 games. So it shows you Graham Potter is working his magic. In the last 4 seasons, they haven't been higher than 14th in the league after game week 5. In fact, they have finished in the bottom 6 of the last 4 seasons, and they are now currently occupying a Champions League place in 4th position, and people said that they needed a number 9. Now,
I was one of those people.
We do need to caveat this.
Look at them.
Yeah, exactly. We do need to caveat this with the fact that they have beaten Burnley, they've beaten Watford, and they've beaten Brentford in 3 of those first 4 games. So it has been a kind opening run of fixtures for them. However, they needed it. We've always enjoyed plucky Brighton, haven't we? However, those sides have taken points, though, off of the likes of Aston Villa, Arsenal, Wolves, and Leeds. So they are tough opposition. Now, look, the Leicester result was a warning sign to clubs in the middle bracket. Brighton want to finish in the top half. They were adjudged to have failed in their first real test against Everton, who they couldn't break down despite dominating the ball. And once again, they ceded possession here, with Leicester having 63% of it. Brighton, though, were just far more incisive, taking 9 of their 12 shots inside Leicester's penalty area. Talk to me a little bit about Leicester, Hamill. I mean, there was a few kind of offside shouts as well that made their day not so happy.
Yeah, I mean, XG was pretty close, wasn't it? It was 1.5 to 1.3 in Brighton's favour, and had Harvey Barnes not continuously blocked the goalkeeper's line of sight from 2 set pieces, Leicester might have walked away with all 3 points. Brighton generally have a very hard time against Leicester. This was Brighton's first victory over the Foxes in 9 attempts, so they broke what was a miserable record. But yeah, like I said, very tight game. But I'm glad that Leandro Trossard didn't finish on the losing side, because I thought he was the outstanding player in this fixture. And of course, we do have to say that Leicester had Napoli to contend with in a midweek fixture in the Europa League, which is no easy feat, is it? I think 5 of those players that started against Brighton also started against Napoli. So that was working in Potter's and Brighton's favour. But back to Leandro Trossard, because he lit up this 90. 5 dribbles, created 4 chances, both match highs. He also racked up an assist, and that was his second goal involvement of the season. So he's up and running after 5 games. And it's great to see, because he's always had potential, hasn't he? But been blighted by inconsistency. So good to see him leading Brighton in the final third this season. And they'll be looking to carry on this handsome form against Crystal Palace in a derby match next week. Now, what I wanted to ask you was, where do you honestly think Brighton are going to finish this season. And you know I like Brighton, so my answer might be a little bit biased. And we know they deserved a higher place finish last season by all sort of metrics and underlying numbers. But just instinctively, given what you've seen in the first 5 fixtures, what do you reckon?
They've really started to impress me. As you mentioned, Trossard's really kind of seems to have come along this season. He's finally having a bit of end product to his game, which is good to see. I mean, I really like Graham Potter. I kind of feel that that it won't be too long until maybe a bigger club kind of comes knocking on the door for him. Who knows what happens with the Arsenal situation? Maybe something could happen there. But look, I think mid-table will be a brilliant season if they can maybe finish in the top half of the Premier League. A 10th, 9th would be a fantastic season for them, considering what happened last year. And so far, I think they can do so. I mean, the fact they've battled with Leicester and come out as the winners is brilliant. The issue for them is obviously trying, if they can kind of steal some points against the top 6 teams, then I think that's for sure a possibility.
Yeah, I mean, normally requires around 50 points to secure that 10th, 9th place finish. It's fluctuated a bit in seasons gone by, but that's probably the mean. And they've already got 12 points, so they only need 38 points from their remaining, 33 games, which shakes out to about 1.15 points a game. So, given how good their start has been, and like you just pointed out, they have taken points off big sides last season. They actually struggled against sort of sides deploying deeper blocks last campaign, didn't they? And that's not been the case at the start of this season, albeit, you know, they've required a little bit of luck they didn't have last season. Yeah, I think they're very capable of it. They could be this season's Leeds. And Leeds, who's going to drop out the top half to make way for
places,
them?
maybe.
Maybe they'll swap places. Maybe you're right. But what do you guys at home think? Let us know in the comments below. And Zach, let's very quickly move on to our loser. Right then, this week's losers comes from Ollie Carden. Thank you very much for sending that in on Twitter. I normally put it out Sunday night, Monday morning. If you want to participate next week, get at me. And if you're not a member of Team FD, then subscribe now with notifications on so you don't miss another episode of Winners and Losers all season long. Did I mention that Ollie Carden picked Spurs? I don't think I did, but he has. And alas, why was that, Zach?
Yeah, there's no real talking point on this episode because this fixture contained both the losers of the week and the Premier League's most informed side. I mean, along with Liverpool, that is. But let's start with Spurs, as you mentioned. From the off, the lineup looked far more adventurous than what we'd seen at the hammering that happened at Crystal Palace. Yeah. Nuno played the diamond again, but this time with Ndombele and the returning Lo Celso flanking Højbjerg instead of Skip and Winks. However, after a dogged first half, which I actually personally think the first 15-20 minutes of Spurs were the dominant side in that game, Spurs collapsed in the second half, to be quite frank, to lose the same scoreline as they did the previous week against Palace, 3-0. They were more of an attacking threat this week. Not hard, though, given they only had 2 shots against Palace. But could still only muster 2 shots on target to Chelsea's 10. Keep in mind as well, Chelsea had 0 shots on target in the first half. Shows you how different those halves were. They also failed to register a shot after the 64th minute as Chelsea assumed complete control over the tie in the second period. Ali was ineffective at 10, creating no shooting opportunities for his teammates. Harry Kane was once more subdued, putting just 1 effort on target, a pretty easy save from outside the box for Kepa as well. A whopping 17 of Chelsea's 20 shots came from inside the box too. So despite sitting deep, they weren't protecting their box in any adequate fashion. I mean, Amel, is there any positives at all?
I mean, they did. I suppose some of those players did work hard off the ball, although they had to, didn't they? Because Chelsea had roughly 60% possession in this game. And like you said, after a bright 10-15 minutes, didn't really offer an awful lot after that. I mean, Emerson Royale at right back had another eventful week. He's had two hard games to open his Premier League career, hasn't he? Against the likes of Wilfried Zaha, against Palace, and that sort of left-hand side for Chelsea that just looks so dangerous in this game. I mean, that volley, very early thoughts from Marcos Alonso with the ball from Thiago. absolutely divine, wasn't it? And sort of indicative of how dangerous Chelsea are down that flank. But yeah, Emerson Royale made 5 tackles. Eric Dyer made a whopping 10 clearances, which was a game high, as Chelsea sort of bombarded that box in the second half. But yeah, the positives, very few and far between. Unless you're a Chelsea fan, I guess. And in that case, you're delighted, aren't you? Man of the match, Thiago Silva opened the scoring with that corner. With the header from the corner, becoming Chelsea's second oldest goal scorer after Didier Drogba. I mean, what an impact he's having at that club when he starts, when he's fit at 36 years old. The Brazilian won 5 out of his 6 ground duels, all 4 aerial duels as well, just dominating.
I think he's 37 next week as well.
Yeah, that Spurs forward line. You going to his birthday party? I know you're friends with Chelsea players now, you little celeb, you. So. And then substituting goalie Kante got pretty lucky, didn't he, with that strike deflecting off Dyer before Timo Werner, who I'm hoping comes good this season, got a really nice assist for Tony Rudiger in the dying embers of the game. Now, Chelsea unbeaten at the start of the season and look unbeatable as well, scoring 12 goals, only conceding 1 in return, which is an identical record to Liverpool. And I was going to ask you, who do you think's best equipped to win the Premier League this term, but didn't want to be accused of going OTT in the light of, Chelsea slapping Tottenham? So I thought it'd be fun to sort of compare and contrast the benches to see who has the squad to go the distance. Because personally, you might disagree, I think that Liverpool still have the best starting 11 in terms of, how coherent it is, how experienced they are, how often they've played with one another, how well they know their roles. But, I mean, you look at the various benches from the title favourites at the weekend, and it does start to look pretty rosy for Chelsea. So we'll put them on screen now. I don't know if you want to bring up anyone in particular, Zach, but do you think that Chelsea's depth could possibly secure them a title?
Yeah, I think with any injury that could happen to Liverpool, it can change the team completely. I think they were kind of okay with the Harvey Elliott injury so far, but if they get another one in that position, then things do start to look ropey. It's either Naby Keita coming in to start or Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain coming in to start. And after, obviously, Keita I think is fantastic, but then the level after that I don't think is amazing. Centre-back wise, they've also got a bit of cover as well.
So I think Joe Gomez returning.
Yeah, exactly.
Nathaniel Phillips is still at the club.
Precisely. So I think they've got depth, but compared to Chelsea's...
So depth, hold on, before you talk about Chelsea, depth, but no game changers, right, really?
Yes.
Unless maybe Thiago starting on the bench and they go for a slightly functional midfield, then he can come on and obviously dictate games. But
precisely, yeah, there could be a slight change there. Whereas with Chelsea's, like the fact that Hakim Ziyech isn't even starting, the fact that N'Golo Kante started on the bench, came on and completely changed the game. Timo Werner, who Chelsea spent 57 million on last year, like these guys who can come on and really change the game. And that's not to say that Curtis Jones couldn't come on for Liverpool and do the same. But the level seems to be a lot. There's a lot more of that on Chelsea's squad, and realistically, even if Chelsea suffered 2 injuries at the back, you've still got enough to keep going. Even if we had injury up top, there's players there. The whole bringing in Saul Niguez was brilliant for Chelsea's midfield. And there's talk now of Chelsea maybe moving to a 3-5-2. And seeing how that goes. I personally don't quite think that will happen, because then you do have 6 players battling for one position, to be quite honest. And I just think that's not the smartest.
It's crazy. You've got 5 or 6 players on your bench. I'm just looking at it now that are worth at least 40 to 50 million.
Yeah.
In terms of the outlay you've put on them or the fee you'd receive for them. Reece James didn't start in this game. Hakim Ziyech you've already covered. But we've not even spoke about Ben Chilwell and Callum Hudson-Odoi.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, for Ben Chilwell, it must be rough. The last game Ben Chilwell played, it was the Champions League final, and he was brilliant in it. And now he can't come back. And I mean, to be fair, Alonso's been playing fantastically out of his skin. And so I'm sure, I'm very much sure that I think Ben Chilwell will get back into that squad. I suppose
with Azpilicueta on the other flank, do you think he's obviously had to go with more of an attacking threat on the left-hand side to just to complement that sort of dynamic a little bit, because Azpilicueta a bit tighter in this game, right? A bit more of a third centre back.
I'm also like, we say that it's been identical, and it is identical, the form so far in these matches. But you look at Chelsea's the teams they've played as well so far. It is impressive. I mean, already played Arsenal, already played Spurs, already played Aston Villa, already played Liverpool. About to play Man City next week, and the only game there that I'm missing. I can't quite. It's Crystal Palace, and so those were like some top heavy teams. Whereas, and not to say like anything, but like Liverpool have had a bit of an easier run in. So it'd be very interesting to see what Chelsea need to make sure they do is make sure they beat the teams like Burnley, like Palace, like they already have, because that sometimes becomes a bit of an issue for Chelsea is beating that low block. I mean, I don't know if you watched the Zenit game on the weekend. It very much came down to Romelu Lukaku producing a fantastic header to win 1-0. And whether we can do that later on this season will be interesting. But I mean, very early in the season, and it's positive signs.
Great you have that option though, just to go a little bit more direct now with Lukaku up there instead of Timo Werner, who's a bit more of a lightweight forward, right? Like last season, that wasn't the case, that you could, Azpilicueta or Alonso could just haul it into the box and Lukaku could just attack it. I mean, I'm just looking at City's bench now as well from their draw against Southampton. And they obviously rested a few first-team players because competing on multiple fronts as well. So De Bruyne came on, Mahrez came on, Foden came on. But apart from that, 4 youngsters on the bench, as well as Scott Carson, Ferran Torres, who of course has been deployed well at number 9. But Chelsea's bench just by far the most convincing, and that squad depth stands to put you in, really good stead moving forward. Now, what do you guys think at home? Who has the best squad in the Premier League? And have your winners, your potential title takers, never a phrase that's ever been used, changed at the start of this season? Let us know in the comments below. I'm still going to stick with Manchester City for the time being, but I did have Chelsea down as my second side. Right, let's wrap up the show then with moment of the week. Zach, I've picked 3, and I want you to pick your favourite. So we have Mane scoring his 100th goal for Liverpool in that victory over Crystal Palace. What a great milestone to reach. I often think, people talk about Salah being underrated. I often think that about Sadio Mane, to be perfectly frank. David De Gea finally saving a penalty. Oh my goodness,
Wasn't it after like 40 attempts, including cheat-outs?
A long time in the offing. He's finally done it.
What a crazy moment that was in the weekend as well.
Absolutely bizarre. It was like an NFL game. It was like he's bringing on a kicker, like specials. But yeah, I mean, De Gea deserves an awful lot of credit at the start of this season, because his form took a big old dip last campaign, didn't it? And he's been brilliant so far in the Premier League this season. And I've also got Lingard's redemption down there, of course, following up, giving that goal away against Young Boys of Bern by scoring an absolute screamer to salvage 3 points for Manchester United. 3 points they maybe didn't deserve, although, I think Zuma probably should have given away a penalty at the end as well. What would you go for out of those 3, and why then, mate?
I will go with Lingard. I've got a soft spot for Lingard. I don't know why, but I quite like him, and I think after his kind of past couple of years, what he's had to go through in that, it's nice to see him kind of come out on the decent end. And fair play to Ollie. Brought on Matic, brought on Lingard, and Matic assisted Lingard for that goal. Didn't celebrate as well. But also shout out to De Gea. That just those last 15 minutes of that game were mental. They were ridiculous.
It was a great first half as well, and then like the subsequent 30-35 minutes was quite poor, I thought, and then it just exploded back into life, didn't it? So yeah, what a way to finish that tie. I think Lingard is probably the way to go. Let us know who you would pick at home, Team FD. Zach, anything to plug?
Check out the Snapchat. Check out Euro Football Daily with their videos. Continental Club. Check out the Why Chelsea Are Great in the Transfer Window. That went out on Saturday on Football Daily. And yes, have a lovely Monday, everyone.
Yeah, all good stuff. All right, see you next time. Bye.
Bye.